Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
We want to make sure that if the government is not able to provide you the services that you deserve in a reasonable period of time, 30, 60, or 90 days, depending on which intervention we're talking about, then you have the right to go to the private sector, and your public insurance will pay for the care that you're given.
That was Conservative Party of Quebec leader Éric Duhaime yesterday talking about healthcare during the launch of the Conservative Party's platform for the October 3rd election. And Éric Duhaime is in our CJAD studios right now. Good morning, Éric.
Good morning, David.
Thank you very much for joining us
Always
live
a pleasure.
like this. So a big announcement yesterday, your party's platform. You were surrounded by almost all your candidates. It was very impressive, actually, to see because, for example, the Liberals can't seem to be able to have that many candidates these days. I think you're way ahead of them in terms of the candidate count. And I think only the CAQ has maybe more confirmed candidates than you. But so let's start with this. I mean, are you going to field 125 candidates?
Well, probably this week. We're at 118, I think, as we speak. So, yeah, within the next few hours, we'll be at 125. Hopefully, by the end of the week, it's going to be done.
So tell me about the platform, because it was funny. When I was looking at all the news sites this morning, I mean, French and English, from Journal de Montréal to La Presse to CTV News Montreal, everybody was saying pretty much the same thing. You have a platform that is concentrating on a few issues, very defined issues, like, for example, healthcare. But when you drill down, for example, you don't find anything on immigration. You don't find anything really on the environment and climate change. Nothing much about Montreal. Nothing much about language. So first, before we have time to tackle some of these issues more directly. But I wanted your reaction, first of all, about why did you choose to just focus on, for example, reducing taxes and a few other issues?
Because it's our priorities. And when you have 1,000 or 2,000 priorities, you have no priorities. And we decided that we're going to focus on 5 issues. If we just do that, we're going to have done much more than any government that I've met. So the idea is to, we're going to talk about other issues, obviously, but we're not going to go on the CAQ's ground. The CAQ wants to bring it on identity, immigration, language. They want a battle between the English and the French, the federalists, the separatists. Like, that's what the CAQ is all about. But I've been touring Quebec for months, and no one's talking to me about the fact that they want to pick a fight with the English community. That's purely the CAQ's obsession. And people are talking about the interest rate going up, the fact that they're scared of not paying their mortgage anymore, the fact that their grocery store the price is going up the roof, the fact that they're paying $2 a liter for their gas, the fact that they've been waiting for months and months and months for an intervention, for a health intervention. That's what people are concerned about, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to focus on the issues that concern Mr. Legault. And CBC is organizing one of the 2 debates during the campaign, CBC French, because in English, Mr. Legault refused to speak to the English community.
Refused.
But for the French debate, they came out with 5 issues. And immigration, identity, and language are not part of that. And now the CAQ tabled an official complaint, because that's where they want the election to be. That's what they want to vote on. They want us to vote les Français contre les Anglais. It's very, very sad that they want to divide us instead of uniting us, and we're not going to fall into Mr. Legault's trap. So we choose our 5 issues, and we're going to focus on that for the next 49 days.
So we'll definitely get to language very soon in this conversation, but let's talk about these issues. I mean, healthcare, you're looking at privatization, but at the same time, you want to reduce taxes. I mean, healthcare costs are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, it's $1 billion a week.
That's it. So we're already at $50 billion a year. That's half of our budget. It's going to keep going much higher in the years and decades to come. So at the one hand, you're saying, okay, we're going to reduce our revenue by lowering taxes, but at the end, we're going to privatize. How is that really going to work? Because when I was in government, I mean, we couldn't let go of revenues because of the healthcare costs.
Yeah. first off, and it's not the purpose of adding the contribution of a private sector, but it's not impossible that the result is going to be that it's going to cost less, because many people are going to choose to use their own private insurance to provide their own healthcare services. And
you would allow
yes
people to get a private insurance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's nothing about Canada-Quebec relations. Does that mean that there would have to be an amendment to the Canada Health Act and get the federal government involved to be able to do that?
There was already a decision made by the court, the Shaoli decision, many years ago on that specific issue. And we want to make sure that no one's going to be obliged to take his credit card to pay for health services in Quebec. Okay. That's not the purpose at all. We want to respect the Canada Health Act, obviously. But if the public... the sector is not able to provide you the care that you need and deserve in a reasonable time, 30, 50, or 60 days, depending on which intervention we're talking about, well, then you can cross over, go to a private facility and get the care that you want, and then the government will have to pay the bill.
But then, Eric, because the answer to that is always going to be, okay, you're creating a two-tier system. What about people that can't afford private insurance?
Well, they can go if the public sector is not able to provide them the services they want within a reasonable period of time, then they also could go to the private sector, and then the public sector the government will pay their bill for the private services that you got. Just like it works in Sweden, in Germany, even in France.
Yeah, but they have higher tax rates. Much higher tax rates.
Yeah, but they spend much more on all sorts of issues.
Sweden is like 70-80% tax rates.
Yeah, but the thing is that they do have competition, and we do it for education. Right? Some kids go to a private school, some others go to the public school, and the private school is partly funded by taxpayers as well.
Yes.
And the competition is good for everyone. We wouldn't have as much diverse programs, and probably it would cost even more if we had a public monopoly in Quebec. And that's what we are, free marketers. We do believe that competition has a positive impact, and that's why we want to bring it also within the healthcare system. And to answer your question overall regarding where's the money going to come from, another difference between us and all the other parties is that we want to exploit our natural resources, including oil and gas. It's part of our platform as well that we released yesterday. We do believe that it's unacceptable to import 100% of our oil and gas right now in Quebec. We see that in terms of the environment, it's not better to see Germany reopening carbon centrals right now that they abandoned many years ago. Coal, sorry.
Yeah.
Charbon.
Charbon.
And we do believe that Quebec could do more. There's going to be an increase in demand for gas, and we need to do something to help them out.
So to be clear, Premier Éric Duhaime would allow drilling for gas in Quebec.
Yes.
And allow pipelines also for oil and gas
and
to go through Quebec.
What's GNL in English?
Liquefied LNG. Liquefied natural gas.
So we would go also ahead with the LNG project in the Saguenay region, $14 billion investment. Yeah, that's the kind.
And what do you say to the climate change proponents?
Well, we say that we saw what happened with the gas coming from Russia to Europe, and we saw that the war in Ukraine has stopped the provision, and now Europe is stuck, and they have a huge problem of how they're going to make sure they could go through the winter that is coming. And we say that, the technologies that they're going to use now are much worse for the environment than if we were helping them out and if we were sending them our own energy. And plus, economically, it would make more sense. And we see that being 100% dependent of others on your energy is not a good idea. Laws in Quebec, and thanks to you and many of your other ministers of environment, Quebec has the rules, the most severe rules in terms of exploiting oil and gas around the world.
Yes.
So now we're importing oil and gas from legislations where the rules are not as high. So in terms of environment, having it here without having it to carry it for a few thousand kilometers away and having rules that are much safer, I think in terms for the environment, it's global, and it would be better off to exploit than to keep importing.
So this is how you think you'll be able to cut taxes without...
We'll do more.
Cutting services.
We'll have to also downsize the role of the state. When I see Pierre Fitzgibbon, the Minister of Economy, going and distributing checks one after the other, he did for $1 billion just a few days before the election
before the end.
Yeah,
in June, just before the end of the session. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's not we're small c conservatives as well. We're fiscal conservatives, and we do not believe that it's the government's role to tax people more and to distribute checks to some big companies. That's not the way we want to do things in Quebec. We do a lot in Quebec in terms of subsidies to big businesses. We do more actually than our neighbors, and it's time to stop that.
But the argument, Eric, is that we're in a competition with other jurisdictions that also give advantages to these companies to come to their jurisdictions. If we stop, you would stop, bringing in all these foreign companies and this foreign investment. There's always advantages that you give, and you give some breaks to companies.
I always prefer an entrepreneur who comes here because we have lower taxes than an entrepreneur who comes here to have a check and a subsidy.
Getting you the facts, asking the tough questions. The Elias Macco Show.
Welcome back.
Et ça commence par des baisses d'impôts. On veut baisser les impôts comme jamais. On veut, par exemple, qu'une famille avec 2 enfants qui gagne un revenu de 80 000 ait 3 500 piastres de plus dans leur portefeuille à la fin de l'année. Ça, c'est de la baisse d'impôts, mes amis.
That was Éric Duhaime yesterday at the Conservative Party of Quebec's launch of its platform, and I have Éric Duhaime in front of me, live in our CJAD 100 studios. Eric, not a lot about language. Now, you've made a lot of inroads with the English-speaking community with your opposition to Bill 96. Yep. A lot of our listeners are supporting the Conservative Party because of that position. Yet, yesterday, nothing much about language, nothing much in the platform about language. So what's the deal here? Are you saying one thing to the Francophones, another to the Anglophones?
Absolutely not. What we're saying is that we want to unite Quebecers, stop the split of Mr. Legault. I understand that Mr. Legault wanted to be the wedge issue on this election. I don't think we should let him do that. Anglophones and Francophones should unite to face inflation. Anglophones and Francophones should unite to fix our healthcare system. I don't think it's time to pick a fight. Anglophones should not be seen as the enemies. I mean, it's completely ridiculous the pattern that Mr. Legault is trying to impose. I think we should be all allies to get out of this economic crisis together and fix our systems and improve the quality of life of all Quebecers. And for me, my opposition to Bill 96 is to make sure that we don't go on that issue. We don't talk about those things. We have a linguistic peace right now in Quebec.
We had it.
We had it until Mr. Legault decided it was over.
Yeah.
And, now it's time to say it's Mr. Legault that should go and his debate, and we should come back to that peace. I think linguistic peace of Quebec has been tough to achieve, like the constitutional peace as well. We've been fighting on the constitutional issues for way too long. We've been fighting on linguistic issues for way too long. Now I think la bonne entente, I call it. Yeah. And we have it, where there's no referendum, there's no upcoming referendum, nobody's interested about having a referendum. Everybody agrees that French is the common language in Quebec, and that the fact that being bilingual is a richness for all Quebecers, Francophone or Anglophones. I think if we agree on those 3 things, then we shouldn't fight against each other.
Okay, so to be clear, a conservative government, or even if, let's say, you're official opposition or minority government, whatever happens on October 3rd, you're going to push to abolish Bill 96.
That's it.
And what about protecting the French language? Are you going to do anything special to protect? Do you feel French is threatened?
I don't feel it's threatened. Okay. I feel that we have to be cautious because we are a minority in North America. We will always be. And Anglophones also need to be our allies for that because, in North America, French is never going to be the dominating language. Anglophones who live in Quebec, they appreciate the fact that we're different, that we're distinct, or call it as you wish, and they want to preserve that as well. And we shouldn't look at them as enemies. We should look at them as allies.
Okay, so I just want to know, you've said this before, I just want to make sure the position was still the same. I want to get to Dawson College.
Yes.
Would you fund the Dawson College expansion, which was first okayed by the Legault government, then taken away during this whole language crisis?
We shouldn't even be talking about that.
But we are.
I come from Quebec City.
Yes.
Nobody argues saying, le Cégep Sainte-Foy got more money than Cégep Garneau or Cégep de Limoilou.
Yeah, but we have the language here.
Well, exactly. Language should not be a discriminatory factor when it's time to fund education in Quebec.
So would you fund Dawson College? Yes or no?
I wouldn't fund Dawson more or less than other colleges per student.
Eric, you're good. You're good. You're dancing around the question. You're a pro.
No.
I'm asking you, really, Dawson College, there was an expansion because because they have more students. They wanted to build a medical clinic. I mean, this was a project that was approved by the CAQ government.
Absolutely.
It was announced. And then there was the language debate, and then it was taken away. So would you reestablish the funding for Dawson College?
What I'm saying is that on one side, there's the people who say that Dawson is more funded than the Francophone CEGEPs. That's the argument of some Quebec nationalists and caquistes. On the other hand, Anglophones say, no, we're underfunded and we want to break even. So
the Ministry of Education said it was a needed expansion.
Who says the truth? I don't know. Personally, I have no clue. I want to see the figures. But for me, the principle is basic. We're going to have the same funding no matter if the student is in a French or an English CEGEP. And also, I want to say that I agree with Bill 101 in terms of, I think that for your education, you should have
adults,
not adults. That's the difference. I think that at the CEGEP, you're at an age where you can decide by yourself
the language,
and we cannot deprive an adult who wants to learn English, who wants to. I mean, why should we do that? I mean, it's very. So for me, we should have the freedom for adults. They should be free to study in the language of their choice.
Okay, so you're not fully committing to a Dawson College funding, but you're not saying no either. I got to move on. Bill 21.
Bill 21.
You're not talking about Bill 21, and every time we've talked about this before, Eric. I'm again here. I really
in favor of Bill 21. It's clear.
I mean, for example, like last week. Bonnie, your new candidate in Darcy McGee, Bonnie Feigelbaum, was in with Aaron and Natasha, and so she's saying, "Okay, live and let live," and that's it for religious symbols. That's what you're saying to everybody, especially when we have, like, there was a poll last week, Association for Canadian Studies, saying that. Members of the Jewish community, the Sikh community, the Muslim community, they don't feel part of Quebec society. They feel like outcasts. They don't feel safe, especially women. And that's in part because of Bill 21. Don't you feel something should be done for le fameux vivre ensemble?
The freedom of your freedom stops where the freedom of others stops.
That's true in a lot of different things.
When you're a citizen, you have a right to have services that are neutral by your state.
They were neutral.
And personally, David, I'm gay. I don't want you to expose your religious bias to me when I'm asked for a public service.
Of course.
And for me, it's important that I don't know that you have that bias. And I have a right to, as a citizen, as a taxpayer, to have a neutral service. And that's what
But somebody wearing a kippah violates that right?
Well, it is a religious symbol that is obvious and it expresses a bias. So and you know what? Look at what's going on with Morocco. In Morocco, there's Royal Air Maroc, which is the Air Canada of Morocco.
Yes.
Okay, it's an Islamic kingdom, and the girls there cannot wear the hijab, and it's not because they're Islamophobic. It's an Islamic kingdom. It's because that's the way that they want to make sure that it's neutral with all their clients, no matter where they come from and what their religious backgrounds are. And that's where I stand personally on secularism.
All right. Moving on. We have to talk about this. A lot of people, think you've done a very impressive job in building the Conservative Party, and I'm one of them. I just as a neutral observer.
So that's the flowers now.
No, exactly. What now?
Come on down, David.
No, but look, from like 500 members to 60,000, almost 125 candidates. You have a lot of support. It's looking like you're going to be electing members in the upcoming election if the trend continues. You've turned this party into a force, but the but is always about a lot of your candidates. And I'm not going to go down through the whole thing, but okay, you have people raising the issues about certain of your candidates that are anti-choice. Some of your candidates, even you got rid of a candidate in Saint-Jérôme because of her positions on Bill Gates and the conspiracy theory of the World Health Organization. Yes. You have a candidate in Abitibi saying vaccinations is like rape. these have been written down. This is fact, Eric, and I don't want to go down the whole line, but there are a lot of concerns about a lot of your candidates and saying, are these official views of the Conservative Party of Quebec?
I have the same concerns.
A lot of people are raising these issues. Even on the text line, people are writing down at 514-800. I love the Conservatives, but I can't stand some of their positions from their candidates.
I have the same concern, and that's why it's been a very tough job to screen them all, and that's why we had to interview over 300 candidates to get 125.
But you still have some of them on.
But I also want to tell you that 2 weeks ago, the CAQ got rid of a candidate in Abitibi.
True.
Last week, the Liberals got rid of a candidate who was also made comments that were unacceptable on social media in Quebec City, in Charlebourg. So we're not the only ones that it happened.
But do you think vaccinations are like rape, Eric?
2022 is not 1972. Today, everybody has a public life. We're on social media. We don't realize that everything we say, we think, is all public, and we go through ups and downs, and sometimes we share or we say or we write things that are not politically correct. And it's a new political reality. You remember even the CAQ had a naked guy on a toilet bowl last election, and they kept him.
No, but we're talking about your candidates.
No, I'm just saying that it's a new reality that we need to deal with. And as a political leader, I've always been in favor of freedom of speech. And I would be in a contradiction with myself if I was here and tell my candidates, you need to shut down, you need to shut up.
No, but there's a line, isn't there, Eric?
There is a line, and that's why I kicked one out, because she crossed the line. But it's going to happen again. I mean, it's part of the deal of the new political reality, and it happens to all political parties, not just ours.
All right, Eric, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you to
for spending all this time with us, and all the best for the campaign. And I hope we can continue the conversation very soon.
Whenever you want, I'm always available. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Merci à vous, Éric Duhaime, leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec. Time now to get your CTV News update with Trudy Mason.